Welcome to this episode of Profess Hers, a podcast about movies, music, history, pop culture, current events, and literature, all discussed from the perspective of women's issues and feminism.
I'm Allegra, so I've done the math. I have spent at least 520 hours watching Grey's Anatomy.
That's too much.
Yes. I don't know that anyone would disagree, but it is the equivalent of something like 20 days.
And I'm Misty, and I'm pretty sure I didn't spend 520 hours getting my master's degree.
I think you maybe did that wrong.
There's a happy medium in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Oh, and I'm Cristina.
We have a guest.
And I don't do math, but I'm pretty sure I spend 80% of my free time watching TV.
You do?
Yes.
Okay.
You have free time?
Barely.
Enough to watch TV only.
15% of my life is free time.
And then 80% of that 15%.
This is too many numbers.
It's
too
TV.
many numbers.
It's
I
TV.
feel like you're drowning out my bombshell number, which is 520 hours.
What are we talking about today?
As always, I want to be the center of attention. So we're going to talk about fangirls. So tell me what you think of the word fangirl. How do you hear it used?
I generally hear it used in reference to K-pop.
I'm not sure why Christina's laughing.
It's just funny. K-pop is funny. Fangirl, K-pop.
So you're used to hearing it in reference to large numbers of adolescent
Girls.
young women screaming very emphatically
Yes.
about
A boy band.
a boy band
From
okay.
Korea.
Got it. Christina, how do you ever hear the word fangirl be used?
I didn't know it was used for boy bands, but that's good to know. Sounds about right. My childhood, I didn't have that experience, but
either.
yeah.
You weren't into boy bands?
No. Corny.
I like how Misty sounded disgusted by the very suggestion.
But I've heard it in terms of, like, when you said I was fangirling about, God, what's that show with the dog? Remember we met the producer?
Wishbone.
Wishbone. I was fangirling about the guy who created
Of all
Wishbone.
the shows.
Yeah. It was part of my childhood.
Wishbone. So I always hear this phrase, this word used in a derogatory way, or at least in a way to make fun of men who are fans of something.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So they're like, oh, look at those nerds fangirling over Star Wars. Because it's supposed to be insulting to call them girls.
Oh, okay.
So I just want to say that I'm 100% in favor of enthusiasm. Whatever you're enthusiastic about.
Except if it's history, because you seem to...
That's a joke. But I mean, it's actually something very important to me to support people's enthusiasm. Because I think there's a lot of, like, Game of Thrones came out last season recently. A lot of people are very excited. A lot of people very
You don't
eager
want to, like, rain on anybody's
to
parade.
rain on parades,
Yes.
right? Like, to make fun of it. Oh, I guess I'm the only person who's not a Game of Thrones loser. You know, all of that. So I don't ever want to make fun of somebody for being enthusiastic or excited about something. I think there's something fundamentally wrong with you if you can't just let people enjoy things. Whatever they are. You like the Real Housewives. I mean, not murder, but, you know, just let people enjoy things, even if you don't enjoy them. You know, a friend of mine once said, don't yuck anybody's yum, which means, you know, if they like it, let them enjoy it.
I do think there's a derogatory term with fangirls sometimes.
So, yeah, I mean, it definitely has the connotation of being frivolous.
Yes.
I mean, it's supposed to give you the image that Misty's having, right? Like of a adolescent girl screaming because there's a cute boy singing a song. So when you use it, you're trying to make fun of somebody in a way for being enthusiastic. Mm-hmm. And I'm here to say, if you're a fangirl, just do it, man. Whatever it is.
I feel like I get like that when I get to see politicians live.
You've
really
seen
me
do.
see a politician live.
It's real gross and weird.
Yeah.
It's just like, what happened to you? You hate everything. Why are you so excited all of a sudden?
It's amazing.
But as a person, it was part of my like core values as a human to embrace and let people be excited and enthusiastic about things. So I'm happy for you.
Thank you.
But it's weird. I touched him.
I did touch him.
He's a historical figure.
Yeah,
Can
I
we say
touched
who
history.
it is?
He's been on
I
C-SPAN.
touched Bill Clinton.
There you go. Not many people can.
Nope.
No,
we have
well,
no follow-up comments whatsoever. That's not this kind of podcast.
Oh,
I touched him without his consent.
So we're going to talk about...
cut that.
No, it's staying in there now.
love it.
You did it. It's happening. This is now the Joe Rogan podcast where we just...
Woo!
3 people, microphone, sitting in a room, just talking trash.
I fangirl out on Joe Rogan all the time.
He does have the world's most popular podcast.
He does.
What? Really?
Yeah.
Are you mad?
How is it not something good?
Hey.
It's this
Hey.
right here. It's
Yeah.
this.
It can't be Terry Gross
It's
or
this.
Diane
It is
Rehm.
this exact vibe. It's just like people laughing
Don't-
and joking.
Don't yuck my yum, Misty.
You listen to Joe Rogan?
I do.
Okay,
On occasion.
whatever.
Yeah.
I just don't
That's fine.
understand. Okay. I mean, like,
I need
Number
to wind
one?
down, okay?
no, number one. He's
Number
the
one.
podcast.
Number one.
Yeah. People
This
like
American
to relax.
Life?
No.
They like to relax.
I mean, I think if you included a number of people who listen to This American Life on NPR, not just some podcast downloads, maybe it would beat it. But no, he's number one.
Good for him.
It's important to be number one at something, I guess.
You ought to tag him in this podcast. On
Please
Instagram.
don't.
I'll be get like twice as many downloads of this episode
Yeah.
if I include the words
Yeah,
of Joe
Joe
Rogan
Rogan.
in
Yeah.
the podcast description. So, on that note, we're here to talk about things that we are unabashedly, unashamedly fangirls of. Obviously, I'm talking about Grey's Anatomy. But I don't get to go first.
Am I going first?
We saved the best for middle. You're going first, Misty.
Awesome. All right, so I'm here to talk about Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, which I feel like I have already talked about so much.
So that's part of the reason we're doing this episode. You've made like a dozen mentions to it. I've mentioned Grey's Anatomy several times. So I think it's important to get into it.
Okay, so this is a show that was on the CW. And I'm not going to lie, I'm a little embarrassed that I like a show
We
that was-
just got done explaining how no one should be embarrassed for liking things.
Yeah, that was your personal truth, not mine. So I'm a little embarrassed that I like a show that's on the CW, but I do. I love it.
It's the network that brought you The Vampire Diaries, Supernatural,
Do you know your audience at all?
The Flash. No, I know. I'm just trying to make it worse for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
The
I have-
Vampire Diaries spin-off, which I can't remember what that was called, but yeah.
The originals?
The originals,
How
yeah.
do I know that?
Yeah.
I avoided this show for a long time because of the name.
Yeah.
The name is Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. Allegra?
And you just felt it hit too close to home?
I've never been a crazy ex-girlfriend.
Mm,
No, I'm really good at compartmentalizing people in my life. So, like, when I'm done with you, I'm done with you.
So you're sociopathic ex-girlfriend?
Sure.
You're dead to me. All feelings have been discontinued.
Okay, so I don't want to explain this show to people.
Do you think we're not smart enough to understand it?
I want this show to explain itself to you.
Oh, so you're going to do that thing where it's like, you just have to watch it.
No, I'm not going to do that thing. You have to listen to it because this show is a musical.
I'll be honest, I'm surprised. You like 2 TV shows total in your life.
I love musicals. I really love musicals.
What?
Yeah, you didn't know that?
You make fun of me for reading novels,
I like musicals.
and you like musicals.
Yeah. Broadway's had a great
I
10
don't
years.
understand what is happening in my life. Okay.
So we're going to play...
You're going to make me watch a musical number is what
I
you're
am.
saying. All
We're
right.
going to play season 1's theme song, and every season has a different theme song. So here we go.
I was working hard at a New York job making dough, but it made me blue. One day I was crying a lot, and so I decided to move to West Covina, California. Brand new pals and a new career. It happens to be where Josh lives, but that's not why I'm here.
She's the crazy ex-girlfriend.
What? No, I'm not.
She's the crazy ex-girlfriend.
That's a sexist term.
She's the crazy ex-girlfriend.
Can you guys stop singing for just a second?
She's so broken inside.
The situation's a lot more nuanced than that.
C-R-A-Z-Y.
Okay, we get it.
Crazy ex-girlfriend.
Okay, so the premise of the show
Is she's a crazy ex-girlfriend?
is that Rebecca Bunch, played by Rachel Bloom, is working in New York and by chance happens to run into her ex-boyfriend from when she was 16 years old,
Okay.
moves across the country to California,
Yeah.
and basically inserts herself into his life and tries to become his new girlfriend.
Be honest, it sounds like a crazy ex-girlfriend.
Yes. The thing is, she is literally dealing with mental instabilities.
Okay. So, like, she has mental health issues.
She has mental health issues. And so as you follow her throughout the seasons, you're seeing all of these things through her point of view.
Sure.
And you're kind of seeing how she's a crazy ex-girlfriend, but also seeing how she's pushed sometimes into being the crazy ex-girlfriend.
Sure. So, I mean, there are a lot of people who think behind every crazy ex-girlfriend is a romantic partner giving mixed signals.
Right.
Yeah.
She is going to interact with all these different people. And one of the things I really, really, really love about this show is the representation and diversity that's in it.
Okay.
So, for instance, her love interest is a guy named Josh Chan.
Yeah.
And he's Filipino.
Cool.
And so we have a Asian male love interest,
Sure.
which is almost never seen on network television.
Sure.
And
Especially not in a relationship with
the main lead.
who is a white person.
Right.
Yeah.
And then he's played by a guy named Vinny Rodriguez. And in real life, Vinny Rodriguez is gay.
That's cool.
So he's playing a straight male lead. And then if you go throughout their friend group, there's another guy in their friend group named White Josh. Because we already have Josh.
Sure.
So he's White Josh. So I think
So white's not the default. That's cool.
Yeah. And the guy's gay. White Josh is gay.
I thought she was in love with White Josh.
No, she's in love with Josh Chan.
But then I thought she fell in love with White Josh.
No, they do not get along, ever. He kind of hates her. So White Josh is gay.
Who did she meet at the sports bar?
She falls in love with Greg.
Greg.
And then with a guy named Nathaniel.
Okay.
I
I watched like one episode.
Because I won't shut up about
I
it.
clearly watched enough to just confuse myself.
You have a representation of bisexuality in her boss, Daryl.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he actually sings a song called I'm Getting By.
That's nice.
Yeah. It's like a 1980s theme. And you have a non-binary representation in AJ.
Wow.
AJ's from the 4th season, and you are never really presented with AJ's gender one way or the other, but it's not treated like Saturday Night Live with Pat.
Oh my God.
It's done in a really, really respectful way.
Okay. I
It's
like
just
it.
AJ is who AJ is. Another reason I really love this show is that, well, one, Rebecca in the show is our hero,
Yeah.
but she's not perfect. And she makes a lot of mistakes. And she's kind of confronted with those mistakes time after time after time. And it's the core girl group around her that oftentimes helps her see that. So within her core girl group,
Mm-hmm.
we have Paula, who is kind of a mother figure to her.
All right. Paula.
We have Paula, who's like a mother figure to her that she meets at her office. Heather, who is her neighbor, who's kind of over it all and doesn't really care about a lot. And if there's one I relate to, it's Heather.
Yeah. Sounds like it.
Yeah. And then there's Valencia, who's like the sexy, fun one. Valencia originally in the show is Josh's girlfriend. So if there's a trope in basically every rom-com, the guy that's with the current girlfriend that we want them to break up, right?
Yeah.
She's a not great person, right?
So
Okay.
Valencia is his girlfriend.
When the show opens.
And because we love Rachel, we
are
immediately
supposed to hate Valencia.
want Valencia to disappear from the scene.
Yes.
What you're telling me is over the course of the show, Valencia becomes one of her friends.
Yes.
Okay.
So we're breaking down some tropes, right?
Sure, yeah.
At one point, she and Josh are going to get married, and Valencia's their wedding planner. So that's how closely she integrates herself into this.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think it's just a satire of the crazy ex-girlfriend trope? Or do you think that it's more than that it's a closer examination, that it's an attempt to show us that every quote-unquote crazy ex-girlfriend is in truth a complex, nuanced, real person with this whole range of feelings? Like, do you think it's a satire of the trope, or do you think it's digging into the trope and showing us?
I think it's a dismantling of the trope. I don't
Okay.
think it's just a satire. And I also think that there's a lot of messages embedded in here in a nice, easy, breezy way
Sure, because it's a musical.
that women should really pay attention to. So I would like to give you Exhibit B.
Okay. You're going to make me listen to another freaking song.
I am.
She's crazy. Who goes into a courtroom and says all of that? She's...
Oh my God. I know what's happening.
What?
Look, I've seen a lot of Hallmark movies, and the look on people's faces before they run and confess their feelings, that's your face.
No. I used to like her, but...
But you still do. And I don't want to be your backup plan.
What are you saying?
I'm saying,
Don't settle for me.
What?
Come on, dude, don't settle for me. Trust me, I know guys, and that look in your eyes means you're in love.
Love? Who are you all of a sudden?
shut up and listen to my wise reprise.
We've had some fun together,
Hold on a second, Heather.
but I need, like, so much more. I'm way too badass to be someone you settle for.
Go see her, okay?
Okay, so like the whole situation there, we don't really need to get into, but Heather,
Oh, thank God.
Heather and Greg are dating, and this is her breaking up with him, and she's saying, "I'm too awesome for you to settle for me. I'm not going to be your backup plan." And I
Okay.
think that is something that every woman needs to know and needs to hear.
Sure.
I think way too women are.
I mean, I married my backup plan, but it's turned out fine so far.
What was Plan A?
I don't know. Europeans.
I have nothing for that.
I wasn't expecting you to say what was plan A. I thought the joke was just going to land with, I married my backup plan. Ba-doom-tsh, and then we move on. I didn't know you were going to inquire further. I didn't have a follow-up joke.
So I just think that nobody should be the backup plan.
No, I mean, and I think it's a good point, right? Like, I'm awesome. You're awesome. We should both end up with people for whom we're number one A
Exactly.
choice. Yeah.
Yes. Another thing that I really, really love on this show.
You look like you're reevaluating your marriage, Cristina.
I didn't know that was an option.
Oh, yeah.
Just kidding. I love you, Bobby.
Another thing I really love about this show is that they handle mental illnesses with a lot of respect and a lot of dignity.
But they also make jokes, right?
They also make jokes about
So
it.
I think that's important, and that's something that is relatively new to the conversation of representation, is like if it's real. I mean, comedians have been making this point for, I don't know, centuries, eons. But that if
50 years.
But like if we are going to be inclusive and be representative, then that means that, you know, we can talk about race, or we can talk about mental health, or we can talk about gender, and we can make jokes. We can't make fun of a person for being, right, a member of a marginalized class, but we can make jokes surrounding or involving those issues. And not just to be edgy, but because, you know, sometimes funny things happen.
Well, and so Rachel Bloom,
Yeah.
the actress and also one of the writers for the show, has always had the plan in the show that the main character is going to have a mental illness. And they did a lot of research on what this is going to look like. So it's a good representation of mental illness. Yes, it's funny. Yes, they do it in song form. But she has an actual mental illness.
So if a person watching it has a mental illness, they can watch it, they can find it relatable, but they can also see that there are funny moments in the
Yes.
life of a person who has a mental illness, which, I mean, and that's the point, right? That humor helps us understand and normalize things. So if it's part of the conversation, then it can also be part of the conversation in comedy.
And her mental illness is not appropriately diagnosed at first.
That happens a lot, definitely,
So it
especially in
takes
women,
her-
right?
exactly.
Because people don't, doctors have a tendency to, or, well, they're less likely to believe a woman when she reports her symptoms, or they're more likely to think that they're related to other factors.
And so it's later on in the series. It's only 4 seasons, and it's on Netflix now if anybody wants to watch it. But it's later on in the series, she actually attempts suicide. And it's from that suicide attempt that she actually gets a good diagnosis about what she has. And I hope I'm not spoiling anything here, but she ends up
Well, it
being-
sounds like you're telling us something that happens in the 4th season, so yeah.
It's not the 4th season. But she ends up having borderline personality disorder. I mean,
Okay.
just telling you what the diagnosis is not a spoiler. But she has borderline personality disorder.
I could have told you that from the one episode I watched, but
Okay, but me not knowing really anything about mental illnesses.
I know a lot about, you know, doctoring, health, mental health, diagnosis,
I don't really know anything about that.
500
So
hours
it
of Grey's
was-
Anatomy.
Yeah. So like you're basically a doctor.
Yeah.
it was nice to watch and to have it
Absolutely.
be factually based.
Yeah.
And it was also nice that they didn't just say, oh, she has bipolar and just leave it at that. Like they
Explore it.
They
dig
took the
dig
time
into it.
to not give her a TV diagnosis, to give her a real diagnosis.
And she wasn't cured the next day. Like, oh,
no, absolutely.
here's a pill. Now you're
No.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, and when they end the season, she is not cured. There is no cure for borderline personality
Sure.
disorder. It's something you have to live with, not cure.
Sure.
And they make that point over and over again. All right, so I'm going to make y'all sit through one more song. It's the last link.
It's better than you talking. So
Shush your mouth. And this is
I
another...
like how Cristina is here.
Sort of.
Well, I feel like after such a heavy lunch and my pants are cutting into my waist, it's cutting off the oxygen to my brain. So I'm tired and I'm giggly.
All right, so...
It's just the truth.
Just when you think the Professor's Joe Rogan episode couldn't get any better.
There's a stigma for a lot of people around taking medication for mental illnesses. I've never taken a medication for mental illness. This is not something I've personally experienced, but I have a really close friend that would constantly stop taking her medication because she didn't want to be the type of person that was on medication for the rest of her life. But if you had diabetes, you'd be on medication and you'd be fine with it. I have asthma and I'm on medication.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
I mean, there's two things, right? So one is the stigma and the social implications. The other is most mental health medication has side effects
We're going to talk about that here.
on your mental health
Yes.
and on your state of being.
Yes.
So sometimes people stop taking it because they don't like the side effects. Now, a lot of people, especially who are bipolar or with borderline personality disorder, who I know, if they stop taking their medication, it's because sometimes their mental illness makes them what they perceive to be a better person. So more productive,
Right.
more engaged in conversation.
Yes.
And sometimes medication can kind of dissociate you a little bit from what's happening around you. And so sometimes it's side effects and sometimes it's stigma. And sometimes you're right. There is this idea like, I don't want to be on medication for the rest of my life.
Right.
Which, I mean, like you said, sometimes you just have to be on medication for the rest of your life. And sometimes it's for mental health. And sometimes, I mean, lots of medications, they're just going to have to gradually keep increasing for the rest of your life.
So Rebecca doesn't want to start taking medication in this episode. She's already done it before. She's been off of it. She doesn't want to get back on. And so this is a conversation between her and her doctor explaining why it's okay to be on the medicine and why you should be on the medicine. Or at least in her case, why she should be on the medicine.
From the moment that we learn to walk and speak, our parents tell us everyone's unique. Now, I'm not saying that advice is bad, but honey, you're not special cause you're sad.
Not special, no, you're not.
The butcher, the baker, the grocery clerk, they're all on 20 milligrams or so.
The movers,
The shakers, the happy homemaker.
You'd be surprised how many of them know. Antidepressants are so not a big deal. Big whoop on an antidepressant. Sweet treats, here's the deal. Welcome to the club with open admission. You're cast in the play that has no audition. Yes, everyone is special, that's usually the sitch. But when it comes to meds, you're such a basic bitch.
Fluoxetine, paroxetine. Our lawyers won't let us say brand names. Antidepressants are so not a big deal. Big whoop on an antidepressant. Connor, heal. Some crime that in the past we didn't medicate everyone.
Cool witch trials and the crusades sounded like so much fun.
Antidepressants are so common that taking them is all we have in common.
So is she seeing and hearing people sing because of her mental?
So basically, yes.
Oh, okay.
It's how she deals with things when she's stressed out. She imagines that everyone in her life is like in a musical.
Oh, okay.
So not everyone.
So she's not hallucinating.
She's not hallucinating.
Okay.
These are just like daydreams that she's having. So this show has been called one of the most feminist shows on television.
I don't know if I'd agree with that.
And appropriately, it has really terrible ratings. It always has had really terrible ratings.
It always has. And some of that has to do with the musical situation. And also, I think it's I don't know. It's not a fit for the CW target demographic.
It's not.
But also, I don't know. I mean, it's not a fit for the CBS. People who are watching NCIS New Orleans, are probably not going to also. Obviously, there's going to be some overlap, but I'm talking in terms of big numbers. I don't know. I mean, it seems like a show that would be really successful on Netflix or Hulu.
It was pitched to Showtime and they passed. So that's how it ended up on the CW.
Showtime shows suck anyway, so it's fine.
So even though the terrible, terrible, terrible ratings continued to exist all 3 seasons, the CW gave them a 4th season because they had always said they wanted to do 4, and that's how they got to close it out. So one of the reasons that they kept it was the CW executive said they thought that it raised the content of the shows that they aired.
So it made the CW look smarter,
legitimate,
and more legitimate.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes. It's always had great critical reception. It's got a really great rating on.
She's wildly respected.
Yes.
Among people who produce musicals on Broadway. I've just read a lot of things on Twitter and interviews with and about her.
They've been given an Emmy, Critics' Choice Award.
So I want to know what your hot take is.
What does that mean?
What planet do you live on?
I don't know what that means.
Your hot take. It's like an unpopular opinion that you have about the show.
My unpopular opinion is I love it, and nobody else does.
So if we were in a room of people who love the show, what controversial opinion could you stand up and say, I think blank?
Okay.
And everyone would be like, boo.
Okay, hold on. Let me think. All right, so my hot take is that at the end of the 4th season, she is placed in this love quadrangle.
I thought she got married.
No, she didn't get married. She's a crazy ex-girlfriend. She can't get married.
You said she married him and his ex-girlfriend.
Oh, no, he left her at the altar.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, there's a little bit of, telenovela involved here.
Okay.
Well, then I'm going to watch it.
Oh, now you've got her involved.
So she's in this love quadrangle, and she's trying to decide who she wants. I think what you are supposed to be cheering for is that she is taking care of herself and addressing her own mental illness, and that she is going to eventually learn how to live on her own, even if none of these men want her.
Sure.
And I wanted her to end up with Nathaniel.
Okay. Nobody knows who Nathaniel is.
I know.
Why did you want her to end up with him?
I think I really like the actor that plays him, and he's from Texas. He's from Frisco.
It doesn't really take a lot.
It really doesn't. And I didn't like the other 2 options, so...
You didn't take care of yourself and your mental illness? That
I meant the other 2
that one
male
wasn't
options.
alluring for you? Greg
and Josh.
So don't tell us what happened.
I'm not going to tell you what happens.
That's your hot take.
Yeah. Sometimes there's too many songs.
You could have given us that one. I mean, that's the perfect that's the perfect hot take. Cristina, you want to go next, or you want to...
I mean, I can. If you said earlier, save the best for middle, so I'll go next.
Yeah, so here's the thing.
I'm about to pass out.
You can't leave when you're done. It's like graduation. You can't just walk out when you walk across the stage. You have to cheer for everyone else. Okay, so Cristina, what show are you fangirling about that you want to talk to us about?
Okay, due to my short attention span and terrible memory in recent...
Hold on. We didn't ask you to double disparage yourself before introducing a show you like.
No, I'm not disparaging myself. I work really hard, so I have every right to be exhausted and have memory loss.
Fair enough.
I'm totally high-fiving myself right now.
For your memory loss.
Yes.
Love it.
Because it was well earned. But there's a series on Hulu called Shrill.
Okay.
And I always say her name wrong. Is it Adie Bryant?
It's Adie Bryant.
Adie Bryant. I always want to say Ida because that's my aunt's name. Sorry. But anyways, she plays a character named Annie who she calls herself fat, and she's fine with it, and most people are.
Yeah.
A lot of people who review the show say she's full-figured, but whatever your preference.
If she calls herself fat, then yeah.
Then let's call her what she wants to be called.
Okay.
So she's trying to change her life, but not necessarily her physique. She's fine with her physique.
So it's not a dieting show.
No. For the most part, she's fine. She's happy, whatever. But, there's still those moments of self-doubt and wanting to be the stereotypical not stereotypical, but what society perceives as beautiful.
Yeah.
Then, all that other good stuff. And so she's trying to start a career while also juggling bad boyfriends. But, they focus on one this first season. And I don't think they're all bad. Well, they're also not all boyfriends, technically. So I'm getting into my head. Sorry.
Intriguing.
So yes. Yeah. So she's juggling that along with her dad is very sick. I believe he has cancer.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to treatment. And then she just has this interesting boss who, I'll talk more about him later. But it's a new show, brand new, just came out in March. I've seen all 6 episodes. There's only 6, so I love that. It was easy to binge watch, and I didn't feel bad because I didn't waste.
Because you haven't spent over 500 hours of your life watching it.
Well, I've spent, I'm sure, that amount on other shows, but so it's definitely a comedy, but it has its hard hitting moments.
Sure. So it's loosely based on the memoir by Lindy West.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And Lindy West is a writer and producer for the show, as is A.D. Bryant. I have read the book.
Mm-hmm. Which I need to do
when
I have time.
But I have not seen the show.
Yeah, it was, I really enjoyed it. I mean, I got sucked in the first episode. I thought, okay, I need to continue because this is good.
I'm about halfway through it. It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's good
And
stuff.
the soundtrack is amazing.
Yes, it is. So, A.D. Bryant, as you all know, also on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, so that's cool because she is co-writing and co-producing and starring in this TV show on Hulu while she is an SNL cast member.
Yes.
So she's doing both.
She's the star of the show.
Isn't Lauren Michaels
So it makes sense.
also involved in the
Probably.
production?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. So why do you love it?
I love it because I feel like Annie is very relatable. I feel like she is me when I was, in my early 20s, late teens. Just not very sure of myself. Wanting to be happy, knowing that you're smart and knowing that you have skills, but you're lacking the confidence and that oomph or that attitude to push you to the top. So, but the show, again, she has a few moments. I love her encounter with the physical fitness trainer. It was
early on.
Yes, I'm not going to spoil it, but it was just that typical encounter where people assume, and it's a lot of people. It's not that just the physical trainer. They assume that you want to be skinny, that you want to lose weight, and that you're miserable.
Yeah,
because you don't fit a certain body type. So it's not the stereotypical I hate my body. She's not constantly bashing on herself. And there is a part where with her mother where, her mother tries to lose weight. So she pulls Annie in with her to try it out. But Annie quickly discovers this is not for me. So she just wants to be happy with herself. So that's why I love it.
I mean, I like the way you said it earlier, which is she's trying to change her life, but not her body.
Yes, yeah. So the show definitely goes against, like I said, the ideal beauty standards that are fed to us by Hollywood.
Yeah.
But if you don't like looking at normal people,
then you should
probably shouldn't watch the show, because if you just watch movies and TV to get away from reality and you assume everybody is what I consider quote unquote beautiful.
Okay, so if you're looking for something easy breezy,
yes,
with not a lot of substance, this show's not for you.
No. There's there was an episode about abortion, which
was it the first episode?
No, it was a second or third. I think it was the third. But I'm like, come on, it's a funny show. Why are we talking about abortion? But I think it was a good, not a good, but like it showed she's a normal person and not every female going through it has the exact same feelings.
Sure. Because
they always want to portray it as, you feel really guilty, you're really upset, but that's not necessarily how everyone feels. And we shouldn't tell people how they should feel.
Well, and maybe my reading of it was different, but didn't it give her some sense of not entitlement, but power? Like she was kind of taking control of her life back? That's how I read it.
I mean, yes, you could see it that way. Yeah, because definitely having a child, as we both know, is a lot of responsibility. So, yeah, she definitely made that decision for herself. So I think it was, I don't want to say empowerment, but, she's a human being. She has choices to make. And this is the decision that she went with. And knowing that the father probably wasn't going to be involved, that she wasn't going to get a lot of help. I mean, all of these factors are running through her mind. The way she got pregnant is just...
Well, talk about that, because that's really interesting.
Not using a condom. Yes, that's the appropriate term.
But not just that. She takes Plan B.
Yes. Oh, yes. So they don't tell her at the pharmacy.
Nobody ever tells you.
Yeah, you have to be under a certain weight.
175 pounds for anybody listening.
Yeah. So if you're over 175 pounds, it's most likely not going to work.
There's a different pill.
So she had taken it several times, but the pharmacist never talked to her about it. They never had a conversation about it. So she was very confused.
There is a different pill for people whose weight is over the Plan B.
It's a different dosage, essentially.
So, I mean, you're right. A pharmacist should,
well, what was so funny
go
about
over that
scene is that it's a female pharmacist telling her, oh, well, did you know that there's a weight limit?
Yeah.
And she's like, why did the male pharmacist never tell me this? And she goes, oh, he's real bad at his job.
Yeah.
It's just said like, oh, yeah, he's terrible.
Yeah.
Did not care. But yeah. So, and I can understand as a pharmacist, you don't want to broach the topic of how much do you weigh.
But you could just say it to everybody. Just say it to everybody.
And you can't tell how much people weigh just by looking at them.
And you also don't know that the person buying it is the person who's using it.
Exactly.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
if you just have the practice of, I just want to, I tell all my patients that this works for people up to and including this weight. If the person who needs this weighs more than that, you need a different pill.
That would be helpful.
It's not hard to say these things. People act like these are super delicate. I don't know what to say.
If you're a pharmacist, it's literally your job.
Right. Yeah, absolutely, to make sure. But now you can get it over the counter, I think, so...
I think some of the critics, I was reading what critics were saying because, I can't help but look at what trolls write, but saying that it glamorized abortion.
Well, anytime a woman
did
does anything in what you might consider a gray area,
yeah,
it is criticized as a woman
glamorizing
glamorizing it. Yeah,
and she didn't pull up in a limo. They didn't bust out champagne bottles. She wasn't laying in a bed of money. I don't know. To me, that's glamorizing things. So anyway, yeah.
but I think what you're saying is interesting. That it's just she's telling one story of one person. She's not saying this is all abortion.
Yeah.
This is all pregnancy. This is all this is a story.
Well, and it wasn't salacious.
Yeah, no, not at all.
To be honest, it's a thing that happens, right?
Yes.
Sometimes it happens, and it's never on TV.
Yes.
Well, I think that's changing, though, because there was a Crazy Ex-Girlfriend storyline about it, too. And in that case, the person who has an abortion is married and already has 2 kids and just can't handle a 3rd kid.
Yeah.
And I think also... Scandal? Am I right? Scandal had an abortion story?
Yeah.
I think that's changing. I think it's becoming more discussed and more shown.
Yeah.
And not in like a scandalous way. Like it's not a back room and it's not dark and scary. And
so tell us about representation.
Okay, so there's definitely a very diverse group of people represented. I still feel like there should be more, Latinx community, Latinos, but that's just me. But there are...
it's not just you, probably. But
No. But Annie's roommate and her best friend is Black. I'm not sure where she's from. She has an accent, and I'm not good at guessing accents, so I'm going to refrain from doing that. And her brother comes out. Her roommate's brother comes out on a episode that was, it's really good. It was a good episode. I'm just going to leave it at that. But, then you have people with and her roommate is also a lesbian. Her boss is a gay white man.
Oh, that's right.
Her work husband, as I like to call him.
Yeah.
I forget his name. He's Black as well. But I feel like it's more realistic representation. You have people with all body types, body shapes.
Yeah.
So, again, there could be even more, but it's hard to cover in 6 episodes.
So Adie Bryant is a white woman.
Yes.
And she has these relationships and friendships with people of color on the show.
Yes.
Are they one-way relationships
No.
or are they two-way?
They are definitely two-way.
Okay.
So sometimes I forget she's the main character.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Because-
that's interesting in and of itself.
The her work husband, he gets mad at her at one point, and he has a life. He has every right to be upset with her, and the world does not revolve around Annie, and he's very quick to point that out. And her roommate is just so comfortable with herself. I'm jealous.
Lolly Adolphi, I
Yes.
think, is the actress's
actress
name.
that plays
And she's
from
from Britain. I don't know if the
Britain. Okay.
I don't know if
Maybe-
the character is
maybe
from
the
there,
accent
but
just-
the actual actress is from Britain.
Yes, I love her. She's just the way she carries herself, the way she wishes Annie was more confident in herself. Even her work husband, Ahmad, he is very supportive and wishes that she would speak up more and, do things that would promote her career positively. So they're definitely supportive, but they have their own lives.
Yeah.
They are their own people. And so it's not just, support characters.
Right. They're not here in service of the white lady.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
So what's your hot take?
My hot take is that I don't like intimacy scenes in any movies or shows.
What?
I don't. I don't know. I feel like that can happen in the background. Like, we don't need to see it.
Okay.
So I don't know.
I feel like this
you
hot
can't
take is
you can't watch Crazy Ex-Girlfriend.
is telling me.
Yeah,
you can't
I
watch
will
it.
fast forward through sex scenes, kissy scenes. I and it's with anyone. I don't care if you're, heterosexual, homosexual. I just don't want to see it. I don't want to see anyone making out. I don't know why. Maybe it's a childhood thing.
If I ask any further questions, this
Yeah,
podcast
this is going to get like a
would turn into
therapy.
like a psychological
Counseling.
evaluation
Yes.
of you. I'm
So
fascinated.
your hot take was there was too many?
No,
Oh,
I just
Her hot take
Why-
is there should be none.
why put it in anyway? I don't know.
That's a hot take.
can I say why it's important in this show?
What, intimacy?
Because
Yeah.
she's fat.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. I mean, I think it's great that finally we're not watching two people with abnormal six packs making out with each other, or unrealistic eating goals or whatever.
But to see, a fat woman enjoying sex.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the first episode, it was fine, but then I was just like, okay, I'm
You
okay.
got it after that
That's
point.
enough. I'm done.
Okay.
I have problems.
I'm asking for hot takes, so I'm accepting of all hot takes.
No Joe Rogan right now. Sorry.
I don't know how Joe Rogan feels about
You can talk
intimacy
about it
scenes.
all
I'm
you
going to
want, but-
guess he's supportive of them at all times.
Oh, yeah.
For little or no context.
God, I hope he listens to this episode.
Okay, so anyway, I mean, I feel like females were definitely taking control of the show or taking the lead roles.
Do you want
But
me to
I
ask
feel
you a different
like
question?
all of their roles are different. I don't feel like, again, with her roommate Fran, I don't feel like she was a stereotypical black best friend
That's a
support
good point.
character. I feel like Annie was, true to herself in every which way she could be. But I do feel, I don't know, like I feel like her boss is kind of.
A caricature?
Yes, and he's discriminating against her, but it's based on her weight. It's not necessarily the fact that she's a woman. So I don't feel like the women are treated badly because they're women. I feel like it's,
Can
the
I ask
focus is
you
her weight.
About the strippers.
Well, hold on.
Yes.
Go back.
Stripper.
So you said her boss treats her differently because of her weight.
Yes.
But do you think her boss would have treated a fat man differently because of his weight?
Yes.
No. Wait, yes. I got confused.
Well, because
Yes,
he talks
it's good.
about
He treats men and women the same
the
based on
the
their
fats
weight.
or something, right? Or the
Yes,
fatties. I
yes.
can't remember what he says.
Yeah, he wants
Okay.
everyone
Because that's the
to-
thing, right? Like,
Yes.
we discriminate against fat women, but dudes who are overweight.
There's also a
Don't get that
generational
same-
thing with her boss. Because he's speaking down to the millennials quite a bit.
Oh, yes. I guess I don't pick up on it because maybe I don't necessarily disagree.
You are a millennial.
I know, but I'm on the cusp. I'm right there on the borderline. So I could go one way or the other, just depending on my mood that day. But I don't know.
That's something a millennial would say, right?
No, shut up. So,
Well, because he talks about like these fat, lazy millennials
yes.
who aren't doing anything.
It's not just men and or women. It's not based on their gender. It's their weight. So he thinks that people who are overweight are just lazy, which is not, we know is not the case. Right. It's not true. So, so I don't really feel like
there are plenty of lazy people in this world, fat and skinny alike.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Amen to that. But so I know her boyfriend this season is...
What was his name? I can't remember.
I can't even remember. He reminds me of this guy I used to date who played video games all day long and just...
What's wrong with that?
Like, he's not making an income or doing anything
I see.
to add value.
You're not saying that he, like, comes home and plays video games.
No.
Okay.
No, I mean, it's like
You're saying he wakes up and plays...
He does a podcast about...
It's Ryan. His name is Ryan.
What is
Talking Traz?
Yes. So they do a podcast all about Alcatraz. That's like their entire podcast. And it's called
I feel like I would listen to that.
Talking Traz. I don't know. I mean, that's a clever title, but that's basically
That's a great title.
All they
I
do.
mean, I want to have an Alcatraz podcast just for that title.
I don't think they're getting endorsements. I don't think they're getting paid. So yeah, he's just...
Well, we're not getting paid either, but that's because we do this at work.
No, but you have full-time jobs on top of this, and I should be doing mine right now, but
you are.
You're
I am supporting your faculty's creative endeavor.
Exactly. That is so true. But he's just, this. I don't want to say he's stereotypical.
I'll say he's a man baby.
Yes.
He's a man baby.
Yes.
So here, let me talk to you about this terminology for just a minute.
Yes.
Why did you say man baby?
Because he has not cut the cord between himself and his parents. He uses his mother's car.
Yeah.
She does his laundry for him.
Okay, I understand why you said baby. Why did you say man baby?
Because it's fun. It's fun to say man bun. It's fun to say man baby.
No.
Because I think baby.
Here's why I'm asking. Because in a minute we're going to talk about Grey's Anatomy. And one of the characters keeps getting called a man whore. And at first you're like...
Yeah, baby's just a baby.
At first you're like, hey, that's great. Let's call out the man for being, over-sexualized or whatever. But then you're like, why did you say man whore?
Yeah,
because the word whore is supposed to just mean women.
In this case, I'm saying man baby to indicate that he's a grown adult.
He's an
adult baby.
So let's say it that way. He's an adult baby.
Okay. I mean, I assumed he was an adult because he was in a relationship with another adult.
Otherwise, it would be creepy. So, yeah. But
I'm not jumping on you. I just want to examine the terms because, again,
let's unpack that.
For a minute, you think, that's great. Let's address a man who's immature and doesn't meet responsibilities. And
there's another term, but we can't say it on the podcast.
Takes advantage of his girlfriend.
Yes.
Right? And there are plenty of people in the world who do that.
Yes. Men and women.
Doesn't
and I want to call
her his girlfriend.
Yeah. There's that. So it's one, and I can see why Fran, her roommate, is mad at her.
Oh, if one of my friends was dating that guy, I would try to sabotage it so hard.
So let me ask you this. Do you think the show wants us to see him as a turd?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
He is a useless human being.
So the show is because that's honestly,
I wouldn't say he's useless. He could be useful. He just chooses not to be.
That's honestly the issue that I have with a lot of shows where they have characters like this is that they portray them as being, but they're still redeeming because of this, right? And it's like, well, if you're taking advantage of someone and you're adding no value to a relationship and
it's clear.
And you're not even willing to admit someone's your girlfriend. I mean, he sounds like a real dirtbag. So it's fine to have a dirtbag as long as the show is portraying them as such.
Yes,
they are. I don't know if she
and not a lovable goof,
way.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if she sees him that way, but her friend definitely sees him that way.
I mean, she totally had the option of connecting. I'll say connecting. Trying to clean up my language here with her friend's brother, who is put together.
What do you mean by
successful, connecting? Turning red. Like he just, I mean, they did. Well, I don't want to spoil anything, but there was a moment, and he lives far away, so it's kind of hard to maintain that relationship. But, you know, it's clear she can do, I don't want to say better, but she can raise her expectations of the people that she dates. She's basically settling.
Yeah.
She's settling.
So, and she even admits it. It's like, I'm happy he's finally coming around.
This is the best example.
So,
Like the first episode, she leaves his house. His roommates are home.
she has to climb over the back fence.
Because he's embarrassed about her. Like, that's the kind of guy we're talking about here.
And I don't think he was embarrassed, again, by her looks. It was just, I don't know why would he. I mean, he should be excited.
I felt like it was based on her
that
weight.
he had a girl in his house, but he introduces her later to his friends.
Well, because she demands it. I think people will treat you to the lowest common denominator you accept. And when she accepts leaving out the back door, she leaves out the back door. And when she says, you're not going to do that to me anymore, he doesn't do it to her anymore.
True.
We do accept what we think we deserve.
This is true.
And we shouldn't.
One of my favorite scenes in Grey's Anatomy, not to bring it up before it's my turn, but is when Cristina is saying to her fiance, we'll have plenty of money, we can buy a wife. Because they're talking about how she doesn't care about cleaning or cooking or taking care of the house. Like, she wants to go to work and be a surgeon. And so I think this idea of settling, not settling is interesting, because it's definitely something that all adults have to figure out and navigate in relationships, right? Is when to say, this is settling.
Oh, yeah.
When to say, I deserve more, or I want something different.
Exactly.
And when to say, here's, you want a wife, we want to be married to each other. So she says, we'll have money, let's buy a wife, and just love each other, right? So just to clarify terms in a relationship.
But she means like we're going to hire a maid, not like we're going to.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. I mean, what she's saying is like,
we're not entering trafficking here. Okay.
No.
Good.
No.
Oh, you took it to a whole.
Well, I
Jesus.
just wanted to clarify.
I was thinking the person was a willing participant.
No. My God.
So yeah, that's the show, my show for the moment.
Well, it's a great book as well, and if you're a podcast person, Lindy West has been on many episodes of This American Life.
Yeah, yes, I've heard some of her episodes, and I enjoy listening to her. So,
and she does a lot. Lindy West does with internet trolls.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
she does a lot of writing about that as well.
Yeah, that was also on the show. That was amazing.
But both she and A.D. Bryant actually have quit Twitter for similar reasons.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Just a toxic
I can see
place.
that.
Yeah. And the more famous you are,
The worse
the
it
more
is.
you get.
Well, and the more that you are outspokenly outside of the norm.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, she's not apologetic for who she is.
Right.
At all.
Right.
And she shouldn't be.
Exactly.
And I mean, that's actually something that one of Lindy West's internet trolls told her when she's this whole thing where she tracks him down and talks to him, but that's what he said. It made me mad that you were fat and okay with it.
Yeah.
So then I felt the need to terrorize you on the internet, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like that you were happy with yourself.
So you said this show is getting a second season?
Yes, and it will have 2 more episodes.
So 8. So
yes.
still bingeable?
Oh, yeah. Could watch that in a day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Goals.
I want to see how her life ends.
Is it time
for
me to talk about Grey's Anatomy?
Oh, my God.
And that's all for...
Man.
Allegra has been waiting, 20
years?
5 episodes to be able to talk about this.
How long has that show been on?
This is its 15th season.
I think I stopped after the 6th.
I've never watched one episode of the show.
So you just have to believe
once.
everything I tell you. Okay.
Well, that's one way to look at this.
So it's in its 15th season. There are 338 episodes, which if you're doing math and wondering,
too many.
Yeah. I've seen them all multiple times. That's how I got to the hours. It's created by Shonda Rhimes. There are 6 executive producers, or there have been 6 executive producers of the show. Of them, 3 are women, 3 are men. It was designed intentionally to be primarily about women. So that's not an accident. And it was created to intentionally make a statement against racism.
Can I tell you what I think this show is before you school me on what it actually is?
Oh, sure, yeah.
So I think this show is knockoff ER.
Because...
That's just my opinion.
I don't even know what that would mean, knock off ER.
Like, I feel like there was a very successful medical show, and so somebody said, hey, let's make another one of those. And this is like a copy of a copy is never as good. I'm basing this on no information whatsoever, but that
Obviously.
is my opinion.
No, they don't work in the ER.
Okay.
They're surgeons. No, I mean, I don't know. I've never seen ER, but
I haven't either.
I assume you've never seen either one, and you just assumed one was a knockoff of the other
one.
Well,
ER came first. Go on, though. Go
dramas.
on. Tell me about the show.
Shonda Rhimes said from the very beginning that the show needed multiple characters who were multifaceted. She wanted it to be an ensemble show, and she wanted the characters on the ensemble to have real, nuanced backgrounds and lives, to have real things happen to them, to have experiences people could relate to. And it's not like, you know, an after-school special where we have a special issue every day or every episode, but she did want to include important topics or important things that happen to people. What's interesting about the way the show was put together is it used something called colorblind casting, which is better than it sounds, because I know usually we hear the term colorblind and we think it's kind of ignorant, but it means casting without regard for race. So it means,
because when casting calls come out, generally they describe the physical characteristics they want. So colorblind casting.
Yeah, we're looking for a tall white man. We're looking for an older black woman.
So they removed those. In some case, I mean, they did have to make mentions of age because obviously the chief of surgery has to be 23.
You know, older, and interns in a surgical program have to be in their 20s. I mean, they don't have to be, but they're in their 20s. Colorblind casting isn't always ideal because we do want storylines that are relevant to race, that are intentional. So we don't just want to put a black person on the show to say we have black people. If there are black characters, I think it's important that they talk about and discuss what it's like to be a black person. So, but the show did that. So they didn't write the whole show before they did the casting. They created an ensemble. They did the colorblind casting. And then based on who was cast, they created some backstories for those people. So Richard Weber is the chief of surgery. He's played by James Pickens Jr. He's a black man, and he has storylines and backgrounds and things in his life that are related to being a doctor in the 70s and being discriminated against because he was the only black person in his program and things like that. So they do make a very intentional conversation, and there are a lot of characters played by actors of color in the show. And they talk about how race impacts their lives. That's not all they talk about, but they do talk about it. Shonda Rhimes said, and this is a quote, "I wanted to create a world in which you felt as if you were watching very real women. Most of the women I saw on TV didn't seem like people I actually knew. They felt like ideas of what women are. They never got to be nasty or competitive or hungry or angry. They were often just the loving wife or the nice friend. But who gets to be the bitch? Who gets to be the three-dimensional woman?" So she wanted to build in some of the reality of what it's like to be a woman. The original cast, Ellen Pompeo, that's the Grey in Grey's Anatomy, Sandra Oh, Katherine Heigl, Justin Chambers, T.R. Knight, Chandra Wilson, Patrick Dempsey, McDreamy, Jace Pickens Jr. and Isaiah Washington. So even then, from the very beginning, the core ensemble, which obviously has changed in 15 years, some good representation. And by the second or third season, we add additional characters, and of course, characters come and go over the course of 15 seasons. I'll just tell you the characters.
Oh, okay.
Meredith, Alex, Bailey, Weber. I think those are the only 4 of that core group who are still on the show. Some of them have died. Some of them have left. Some of them got fired.
So why do you love this show?
So I would agree with Shonda Rhimes. I think it's aspirational. It's kind of like Star Trek. It takes place in this almost fictional universe where people have healthy, well, I'll just say this. People are honest. Women are powerful and respected on their own terms. Women in charge of things aren't just acting like men. people of all races and all sexual identities, all religions. They're respected. They're treated like people, and topics that actually impact us aren't off limits because they are tough to talk about. A woman created the show. Women write the show. I mean, there are male writers also. Women often direct episodes, and women literally run the show. Shonda Rhimes was a showrunner for a long time.
Oh, is she not still?
No.
Oh.
And now a different woman, Krista Vernoff, is the showrunner. Diverse characters, diverse actors. There's a trans character played by a trans actor. Gay actors playing gay characters in some cases. Muslim actors of all ages, sizes. So it's just real, true representation, and they get to talk about things that really impact their lives. So trans characters who talk about in some episodes what that's like, and in some characters, they just, they're treated with respect and they're doctors. It's just awesome.
But
what? Characters have some characters have different priorities. Some people want to balance being a mom and a surgeon. Some people want to focus on their careers. There are people who adopt children. There are people who have children. There are people who raise other people's children. There's lots of different kinds of families and different compositions of families, and lots of explorations of female friendships and how those can sometimes be challenging, sometimes get competitive. I mean, it's not just a rosy picture of females holding hands skipping through a field, right? They go through real things together as friends.
We'll call each other at least twice a month, and we'll text all the time.
I hate texting.
Text me, and don't let Owen get all dark and twisty. Take care of him. And Alex, take care of Alex. He needs to be mocked at least once a day, or he'll be insufferable. Don't get on any little tiny planes that can crash, or stick your hand in a body cavity that has a bomb in it, or offer your life to a gunman. Don't do that. Don't be a hero. You're my person. I need you alive. You make me brave. Okay, now we dance it out. You are a gifted surgeon with an extraordinary mind. Don't let what he wants eclipse what you need. He's very dreamy, but he is not the sun. You are.
So it explores things that I've been through, but more important to me, it goes through things that I've never been through, and it uses narrative to teach empathy and humanity and humor. So I've never been in a domestic violence situation, but there are episodes that I think explore that in very deep, nuanced, real ways. And I can't tell you how realistic it is because it's not something that I've been through, but I feel like I have a deeper understanding.
So what's your disclaimer? What's the but?
So, I mean, you've never seen it. Cristina,
No.
Have you seen it?
Yeah, I watched the first 6 seasons.
So there's a lot of womanizing.
Yes.
That's what
I was going to ask.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, there are characters who have sex with 8 different women in a span of, 2 months.
I feel like that's a lot of TV.
And so, but what happens is that initially we condemn those characters. So the 2 characters who do it a lot are Sloane and Alex. And so we're like, oh, they're awful. But then pretty quickly we're supposed to forgive them. And it's almost supposed to be like, oh, isn't it amazing? They went from being that way to being decent guys. Aww. And in a lot of cases, falling in love with the quote right woman
it fixes them.
Reforms them, and they change their ways. That is principally in the first 3 or 4 seasons that happens. The treatment of some female characters is pretty bad. So if you are familiar with Syph Nurse, there's an outbreak of syphilis in the hospital, and it's blamed on a single. I mean, the characters
like a
blame
Typhoid Mary
on Olivia, this nurse, and it's really like she had sex with 2 different people in a 6-month period. She's not the outbreak monkey, but they treat her like she is. And they call her Syph Nurse.
It's classy.
Yeah. They do bring her back 12 seasons later, and she's advanced in her advanced in her career, and they kind of redeem the whole storyline and show, I mean, we were terrible people.
We were jerks.
I think the biggest disclaimer is there's a scene where Meredith does this whole speech, the pick me, choose me, love me speech.
Oh, yeah.
Here it is. Your choice, it's simple. Her or me. And I'm sure she's really great. But Derek, I love you. In a really, really big, pretend to like your taste in music. Let you eat the last piece of cheesecake. Hold a radio over my head outside your window. Unfortunate way that makes me hate you. Love you. So pick me. Choose me. Love me.
She's happy with her boyfriend. He's left his wife. His wife comes back into the picture, and he struggles with whether he should be with Meredith or he should be faithful to his wife because of his marriage vows. And so he's struggling with that decision. And at first she says, you know, you decide, you do whatever you want to do. And then she does this whole speech where she says, pick me, choose me, love me. And some people really have a problem with it. Some people think that it's terrible that Derek ever put anyone in this situation. Some people think that she's like desperate and pathetic and weak for making this speech. I think it's the opposite.
Why?
I mean, I think it takes a lot of courage and strength to make yourself that vulnerable and to say to a person who has a high likelihood of rejecting you, I love you and I hope you pick me. That's a hard thing to do.
Yeah, I would never do that.
So
why am I not surprised?
I don't see it as like a desperate begging. I see it as a very courageous, honest moment.
I like don't settle for me better.
Well, I mean, I think the thing is they knew that they were in love with each other, and him being with someone else was a matter of obligation. I mean, I think it's just a different...
his wife, because he took a marriage vow?
She cheated on him. That's why he left her. It's very complicated, Misty.
Okay.
God.
Get a divorce. That's all I'm saying. It's easy.
Wait, who cheated?
Derek's wife.
Yeah, she cheated on him.
Yeah, and he left her, and then she came back.
I get annoyed.
And he struggled with whether or not to give her a second chance.
Yeah, the whole cat and mouse thing just aggravates me.
Between him and Meredith?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, just
some people
one.
don't like it, and some people,
or
you
pick
know.
none.
Pick none.
That's my choice.
So I would argue that no television show in the history of television has better representation than Grey's Anatomy, if only by virtue of the fact that it's been on
forever,
for 15 seasons and has a huge ensemble, not to mention that there are, you know, patients who are on for 1, 2, or 3 episodes. And so you can introduce a lot of diverse situations and backgrounds.
SVU.
Yeah.
Just by nature of what the show is, you have the ability to bring in a lot of people.
A lot of people.
Even if it's a one-off.
But the thing is, they have these opportunities and they make great use of them from the very beginning. They have gay characters, trans characters, bisexual characters, characters who are coming out, realizing their sexuality. They talk about how, you know, the challenges associated with coming out, the being rejected or accepted by their family. They have mental health and mental illness. So one of the main characters has mental illness. She has OCD. And they don't just like you were saying with Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, they don't just say, oh, yeah, she's got OCD. Oh, no, this bad thing happened. And by the end of the episode, she's cured. It goes on for many episodes, and it explores how challenging it can be to find the right therapist, to find the right treatment, to find a way to balance your mental health with your workload. And she finds a way to manage and treat it. But again, it doesn't magically go away. You know, several seasons later, she, you know, mentions that she's still having this problem. So it's a realistic portrayal of mental health and mental illness. There are people who have physical disabilities. There are amputees. And again, it's not something that they talk about in one episode and it disappears. It comes back. There are veterans who have PTSD. Characters struggle with aging and when they should retire. I mean, all kinds of things. But I think what's important about the representation isn't just how many boxes do they check, but really how many people in the audience can watch this show and see someone who resembles them. So if you are a very devout Christian, if you are a veteran, if you're a mom, if you're a working mom, if you're a widow, if you're mentally ill, if you're an immigrant, if you're trying to learn a second language, if you're in poverty, if you've been sexually assaulted, if you've been in a domestic violence situation, if you have PTSD, you know, it's not tokenism, it's actually like representation. You can watch it and you can see someone who looks like you and who's gone through experiences similar to yours. A lot of people talk about, you know, they love April Kepner because she was a very religious person. She prayed about things. She talked about God. She wore a cross, and she was a scientist. That was important to a lot of people to see that on TV. It's
so
real.
They were fully fleshed out,
absolutely.
nuanced characters.
And she wanted to save herself for marriage, and she struggled with being attracted to people. I mean, they had real experiences that people could relate to in all kinds of different ways.
Oh, like real life.
Yeah. I mean, there's a Muslim character who covers her hair, and you can see things that remind you of yourself or things that you can relate to.
Or maybe things you can't relate to, and it's a window into that world.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, like some of the characters are in AA. Some of the characters are struggling with addiction. So there's, like I said, adoption. So things that you've been through and can relate to, and things you haven't been through, and you can build a sense of empathy and understanding. I mean, it's the true power of narrative. It's what I teach my students is the power of literature, but it's there on TV. Now, is it over dramatized? And yeah, sure, it's a TV show, right?
Yeah,
is it mostly about romance? Sure.
What about gender roles?
What about gender roles?
I
There
mean-
are none.
I mean, it's kind of the whole focus of our podcast.
There
so-
are no gender roles in this TV show.
Explain.
They don't exist.
I mean, I can't even imagine a world where that's possible.
You should watch the show. They don't exist.
Not even a little bit?
No.
Like a hint here and there?
No. So here's why I'm saying there are no gender roles. Sometimes why are you making that face at me?
I'm confused. I'm
So,
interested.
so think about what a gender role is, right? It's the expectation that men do certain things and women do other things.
Yeah.
That does not exist in this show. There are plenty of women who have absolutely no idea how to boil water. There are plenty of men in this show who can cook Thanksgiving dinner all by themselves. And in fact, in the first 2 seasons, both of those things happen. There are women who are in charge of the hospital sometimes. Sometimes it's a man who's in charge of the hospital. There are several women department heads. Women and men share childcare duties. You're never going to see a show with more men carrying babies around than Grey's Anatomy.
Do you feel like that's an unrealistic representation?
It's aspirational.
So
it's ideal.
Okay.
Yes, it is aspirational. Mm-hmm. I mean, their relationships are open and they have communication and they struggle with balancing home and work and all of those kinds of things. So Cristina Yang, time and time again, defends her position that she doesn't want to have a baby. She's honest about why. She doesn't waver. She's very tough. She's the toughest character in the first half of the show. But there are times when she breaks down and starts crying. But there are also times when men start crying. A different character, Bailey, time and time again, demonstrates that she wants to be and can be both a mom and a top-tier surgeon. So those two things are completely different. Those two women get along just fine. You know what I mean?
And one is not seen as the ideal, and the other is not the fall guy.
Neither one, right? You see where both of them is coming from. Now, I'm sure if you are a person who thinks that kids and family are very, very important, and you see Cristina, maybe that's hard for you to understand, but the show is definitely not telling you that she's wrong or that she's bad.
How does it do with a male?
There are lots of relationships on the show, right? Some good, some not good. And there are lots of exceptions. The major message is that consenting adults get to make decisions about their own lives, and their choices should be respected. Women don't accept being sidelined. Women don't accept being marginalized. Women don't accept being left out of things. Are there characters who are mansplainers or cheaters or idiots? Are there men who don't listen to women? Sure. But those people are shown for what they are. The show is not saying, look at them, they're awesome. The show is saying, look at them, they're idiots. Mm-hmm. For the first half of the show, a man is the chief of surgery, and then Bailey takes over. And it's not like, oh my God, a woman can do this job. She just does. And then there's a period of time where she steps back and takes a sabbatical from being chief because she is overwhelmed by her mental health issues, being a mom, being a wife, and being the chief of surgery. And so she's very honest about it and takes a step back, gets some help with her mental health issues, and then comes back into the role. Like, it's very realistic, and I just think it treats women the way I wish women were really treated. There are male friendships. Those are not the strongest moments of the show. Like, they go on all dude camping trips. And, but there are men who are vulnerable and honest with each other, and they have some buddy scenes, but there are lots of times when men cry, men grieve. There's a male character who struggles with PTSD, and so he has a lot of emotional breakthroughs and breakdowns in the course of the show. I would say that it's breaking ground basically in every single episode. Just a few weeks ago, there was an episode about sexual assault, and I don't want to get into the weeds about it, but it's all about women finding strength from each other and helping each other and being there for one another, standing up for each other. So
what's your hot take, Allegra?
I have so many. I have so many.
Like Cristina just hit herself in the head with the microphone.
I think my hottest hot take, not that I would ever want anyone to die, obviously, but I prefer Meredith after her husband dies. Not right after, because she's like sad.
Spoiler alert.
From 7 years ago, sure.
Hey, I'll catch up someday.
I prefer her after.
Why?
So, as Cristina mentions, in the first few seasons, they do have like a cat and mouse situation. And she's not always the cat and she's not always the mouse, but they're always, right, they're together and then they're not together. She's pursuing him, he's pursuing her. One of them's not sure. They break up, they get back together. That whole thing's happening. And then they get married and there's a whole, I don't know, 5, 4, 3, I don't know. I don't do math. But there are a number of seasons where they're married and stable and healthy and they communicate and they're vulnerable with each other and they have children and they have a very stable, healthy relationship. And then all of the kind of love, sex drama is happening with other characters, but they are adults. And that's great.
But it's boring.
It's not boring because, again, they still have all this drama happening with other characters. I don't like that he's dead because I do like him and his character, but she is freaking amazing in the most recent few seasons. I mean, she becomes and who knows if this would have happened if he was still alive, but I just like her better without him. She's a department head. In every single relationship she has since he dies, she is definitely the alpha in the relationship. And I'm not saying the women always have to be, but it's nice on a show that a woman is. She wins awards. She invents things. There are all kinds of things that she does that are just incredible. She does it while being a single mom to 3 kids. She has these great relationships with her sisters. She turns into a really incredible person. And I think most people who are fans of Grey's Anatomy say, I miss Derek. And there are even people who just stopped watching it when he died because they liked him that much. Which I like him too, but I just think she's cooler without him.
How did she have 3 kids already?
It's been 15 years.
What? Wow.
I mean, it's been 15 seasons. I think one calendar year of their life is the first 3 seasons, but.
Oh, wow.
Are we going to why we love these things?
Yeah. So we started by talking about fangirls, and I want to finish by talking about why we love things.
Because we connect with something within them. For Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, for me, it's this message that women deserve and should do so much more for themselves than what they do. Like, that is, if I could be an evangelist for this show for no other reason, it's for that.
I like that you use the word evangelist.
I do too.
I feel like I'm like one step away from standing on a cardboard box outside and passing out pamphlets about this show because no one will watch it with me.
Do you think that women who have internalized misogynist messages in their lives as a result of watching the show might change their paradigm?
I hope it will at least make them consider why they feel the way about themselves that they do.
Do you think men who watch this show, I don't know how you necessarily get a misogynist man to watch the show, but do you think a man watching this show would change his paradigm? If he started out as a misogynist?
I think they would be confronted with the same thing. We've played on this show a song from Crazy Ex-Girlfriend before about men not really knowing how to communicate in emotional terms, and so they use sport analogies.
Yeah.
And so I think there's things like that sprinkled throughout the show where it's not just focused on one gender.
Okay.
And there's another one about the character Nathaniel who has a really demanding father, and then their boss in the office, Daryl, is this like lovable teddy bear of a person, and he's like, well, just if you can't take a nap, go take a man nap, because it's manly if you call it a man nap, and that'll make it okay.
Yeah. Why do you think we love things?
Well, me personally, I can't speak for anybody else, but I love because I get to escape reality.
That's okay. There's a reason.
Yeah.
I mean, so there are things that we see. We talked about this a little bit. There are things we see on TV that we relate to, like we see ourselves there, and there are things that we've never been through, but we can learn about. We can reinforce positive paradigms. So if you are already a person who is a feminist and you watch a show, it helps you kind of reinforce and celebrate these ideas that women can be, you know, anything they choose to be, and they can assume positions of power, and it's not unusual. I think they help us make sense of ourselves and our experiences. But I think we're attracted to like the packaging of TV shows. Mm-hmm. I think the way that music scores the moments, I think the way we see people's expressions and can decode their facial expressions as we watch them, the scenery, big details, even just like the purses they have or the shoes that they wear, like we are examining those details. But the stories have meaning, right? They have themes. They communicate messages. So they show you a guy who's a jerk, and either you're meant to love him or hate him. And so the shows are valuing and promoting different ideas. And we are always, as humans, I think, hungry for that kind of content. Whether we're reading a novel or watching a TV show, I think that if it's meaningful and it communicates a theme, it serves that purpose. I don't know that like Transformers movies serve that purpose for us. I don't know that they are valuing or promoting things. I don't know that they're communicating themes or ideas. I don't know that they're helping us with our paradigms, but TV shows like the ones we're talking about definitely do. And when there are consequences for things on TV shows, even if they're not fair, we get to see action and reaction. And I think that's some kind of closure or like instant gratification.
Well, the other thing is, if you like shows like these, then you have to support these shows. And these shows in particular bring new voices to the table.
Yeah.
Add females into the writing room and to directing
yeah,
and to executive
absolutely.
producing. And all of those things are important too, because if you don't have that, you don't get new and fresh stories.
Absolutely.
We're just going to see the same thing over and over and over and over again.
For a long time, there was the entire block of prime time on ABC was executive produced by one black woman. And so the support for those shows, that's Shonda Rhimes, right? The support for those shows shows you how important it is to everyone to hear different new perspectives and ideas. And then shows like Shrill, and there are other shows that have dealt with, you know, being a woman, being a fat woman, being, you know, all of those. That show Dietland on AMC.
Never seen that.
That got canceled. And so it's important, I think, what you're saying, like supporting the shows because it's important to reinforce, right, bringing new people into the conversation. And I mean, don't just support it because a woman wrote it.
Right. But
if it's something that you value and if it's something that's bringing meaning to your life, then you should support it for that reason.
Exactly.
Yeah. So many people who think Allegra is a man's name.
Really?
Oh, I just got an email that said, "Sir."
Good day, sir.
I started addressing all my emails to you as sir.
Is that what's next in your lady life?
No, I'm good. I got it. We're ready. Hey, Misty.
Yes.
First of all, I love that on our shared document, you put me instead of your name.
I did.
Instead of saying Misty, you just put me. Because it's all about you, I guess.
I forgot it's not my document. It's on my computer.
It's on all of our computers. We're literally all looking at it right now. Yeah. What's next in your lady life?
This is coming up on final exam week. So that's a fun time for me.
Because you like to judge people and students?
No, because I have to get all the grades in from all the professors that are in my department.
It doesn't sound fun, to be honest with you.
It's really not. What's next in your lady life?
Well, you know, I started rewatching Grey's Anatomy again.
Oh my God.
As preparation for today's podcast. And I got to the 3rd season, so I'm just going to have to keep watching it.
Cristina, what's next in your lady life? I'm not even dealing with that one.
Well,
I did recently read an article about how if you have anxiety problems, re-watching certain television shows that you find comforting can be a way to alleviate anxiety.
Or you could read the same book.
Was that on
books are
No.
also good for that.
There are things specific to TV shows
Okay.
Oh, that's interesting.
that can help alleviate anxiety.
Children like to watch repetitive shows.
So I'm just saying it's part of my mental health treatment.
Oh, so I have to be supportive
So
of
you
it.
can't make fun of me.
Christina, what's next in your lady life?
Okay, so my birthday is around the corner, and I keep forgetting. I think I'm going to...
Big 4-0.
I am not 40.
Any good plans?
That's okay. I'm going to keep it clean.
I like how the two of you are now just basically openly ignoring me like I'm the screaming child in the restaurant.
That analogy works for me. Is it an analogy or a metaphor? You're the English
Analogy,
teacher.
right?
Okay, I was right the first time. So cut this part out. But anyway, my plans are just to get out of the house, and it's been, I think, a good year and a half since I've done anything pedicure-wise. So I'm going to try to get that situation
Exciting.
cleaned up.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Profess Hers, our podcast about seeing movies, culture, and history through our lady eyes. I'm Misty, and I like musicals.
I'm Cristina, and I'm rocking a swimsuit this summer, sans shorts, like the women at the pool party during episode 4 of Shrill.
And I'm Allegra. I believe I'm licensed to do surgery now after the 500th hour of watching Grey's Anatomy.
You would think that. We'd love to hear from you what you thought about today's episode, what you'd like to discuss in future episodes, or how great you think we are.
Which is extremely great. To connect with us, you can follow us on Twitter at ProfessHers, ProfesShers, or by email, same address, professhers@gmail.com. We're also on Instagram and Facebook.
Thank you to everyone who has been listening, commenting, liking, and reviewing our podcast.
Please keep doing all of those things, and we hope you recommend our podcast and your favorite show to a friend.
And remember,
don't settle for a bad relationship or a terrible TV show. Oh, man, it wasn't recording.
I will punch you in the face.
Not doing it again.